What's up, everybody? You are back in here with the Pro Football Pod. You've got Hulk, you've got Coach hanging out with you today. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Every 500 subscribers, we're giving away a jersey to one of you lucky people. Might even give away two. We're feeling froggy. Today, we're just going to go ahead, dive into next year's draft class. Let's look at it. Let's see what we're working with. 2026 mock draft coming here for you. Coach. We talked about it pre-show, and I'll let you make the call too on it, but I don't think we should be drafting. I don't want to draft Arch Manning in this draft. So I don't think he's coming out next year unless he just lights the world on fire this year.
Exactly. I see the logic behind it. I think that if he did come out, could potentially be a top 10 pick. But
if his last name wasn't Manning, I think he'd come out.
If you're not the number one overall player, then you don't come out. Honestly, some news that's been happening this week is that Cooper Flagg's going to run it back. And if he wins a national title, that doesn't happen. But I think Cooper Flagg is going to be the number one overall pick. So it's kind of crazy to me that he doesn't come out for just that reason. Like, I don't care how young or old or experienced you are. If you're going to be the number one pick in the draft,
I think he comes back.
Then you have to come out. So if he's not
I think Cooper Flagg comes out just because of what you said. Like, bona fide, you're number one. Why would you not? Because that's not a guarantee next year.
Exactly. So if Arch isn't number one, if he's just a top 10 pick, we saw what happened with Shedeur Sanders being a top 10 pick.
I do think it's worth mentioning. Now, we didn't pick this order. This is what PFF's got lined up. I believe it goes off of Vegas odds for odds to win the Super Bowl.
Which I wanted to say, Vegas don't believe in no Jackson Dart? Like, what the fuck's going on?
This would be a very interesting scenario here. If the Giants had the number one pick, I'm wondering if that would entice Arch Manning to come out. If, Peyton, Eli, Archie, all of that, like another Manning for the Giants, like, to me, I think that would entice him to come out.
That could be interesting. I mean, the other ideal is that the Browns have 2 first-round picks, and if none of their quarterbacks end up working out, that could end up happening. I mean, they could end up trading up. Like, there's a lot of leverage for teams to go up and get this, generational prospect. We do still have a whole college football season to see, so we don't know yet. But based off of right now, what everyone's thinking, I agree. We don't let Arch out because he's likely going to play one more season.
And I also do want to make a fact, too. A lot of these picks isn't necessarily where we think they're ranked right now, isn't not necessarily how they're actually going to get drafted. This is more of just a look back for us whenever we do get to next summer, to see how much changed, because at this time last year, James Pierce was projected to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, if not
Quinn Ewers was going number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Like, so Cam Ward was projected fifth round pick.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, a lot can happen in a season. So let's just go ahead, look at the Giants on the surface. If they've got the number 1 pick, that means Russell Wilson didn't work out, Jameis Winston didn't work out, but I don't know if they'd be ready to give up on Jackson Dart. However, if they have the number 1 pick, I think Dable and Shane are both gone. So you're looking at a new head coach.
Exactly, who could be trying to bring in his own guy at that point. We know that they're not going to be going halfback in the first round. Players like Jeremiah Love aren't going to be the number 1 overall pick this year. I think in a lot of ways, what we thought about James Pierce last year, that edge is likely going to be one of those positions that is likely going to go in the first overall pick. So you definitely have some interesting picks up here.
Yeah, so honestly, just looking at their free agents we got here, main guys, Illuminor at right tackle for him, Evan Neal's coming up, Greg Van Rooten's coming up for him, Wan'Dale Robinson. And as far as like major impact guys, that's mostly what we're looking at. No shade to anybody, just looking at Spot Rack here and what people are worth. So offensive line is going to be a point of contention for him. I don't want to go edge. Caleb Downs, like, to pound for pound, as we stand right now, Caleb Downs is the best overall player in this draft coming out next year. He can give you free safety, strong safety, slot corner. The guy can just be an ultimate chess piece to me. And this is high praise, but this is what his ceiling could be. Ed Reed.
Okay.
Like, you just put him anywhere on the field. His IQ is off the charts as well. So I don't know. I look at the Giants, I look at the roster. Let me get that pulled up real quick. And I mean, is it crazy to take Caleb Downs number 1 overall? Like we said, like, this isn't necessarily, oh, he's the first overall pick. He will probably be a top 5 overall pick. But this is just looking at team needs for him here. And I'm looking at, okay, they've got Javon Holland and Tyler Nubin. So, okay, safety is maybe not necessarily a need for him. Corner could look there for him here. The top corner on the board right now is Jermon McCoy, but I don't think there's a corner to where it's like, yeah, they're number 1 overall.
Now, on the opposite end, their edge, they still have Brian Burns, and then they just drafted Abdul Carter. So edge is definitely not going to be the big point of contention either. Honestly, they've got
Peter Woods is who I'm looking at. He's listed as an edge, but he's more of a defensive tackle, like 3-4 end at 6'3", 315. And the dude, like, okay, only 3 sacks in his career, 4 quarterback hits, only a total of 35 hurries. Like, so, okay, but look at the versatility that he's giving you. And this guy, for everything that I've seen as far as like what scouts are looking at, he's checking off a lot of boxes as far as like a top end defensive tackle. So I'd be okay with Peter Woods here, give Dexter Lawrence a running mate, and just have the best defensive line in the whole league.
It's kind of early, and honestly, the only reason I'm even looking at it is because of versatility. But Spencer Fano from Utah played a lot of left tackle in 2023, was predominantly a right tackle last year. Right tackle is a pretty big weakness for them. And then Andrew Thomas has been pretty phenomenal. So really,
when he's on the field.
Yes. So like shoring up that tackle position between Caden Proctor, Spencer Fano, or Francis from
Maui-Goa.
Yeah, that could be another really interesting pick. Honestly, I think I like that one a little bit more. Bigger school, a lot of time on the right side as well. Versatile player, nice mauler in the run game. So that's honestly where I think I would go. I think that they need defensive line, but they hit defensive line pretty heavy. And having Dexter Lawrence as well, plus Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, they should be solid on their D-line. I think that shoring up whoever they have for quarterback, whether it's Jackson Dart or Russ or whoever, that's where I want to go.
Yeah, because they did come back in round 3 and take Darius Alexander. They did get Marcus Bowe at offensive tackle in this draft this year. So, yeah, I do feel you with that. But I love Maui-Goa. I'd love to have another Miami guy to go number 1 overall. But as it stands right now, I think Caden Proctor's the safest offensive tackle.
Let's do it.
So let's go with him.
Browns are on the clock.
All right, so Browns on the clock at number 2. Now, this one's tough as far when it comes to the quarterbacks again, because, all right, you took 2 guys this year with Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel, and you also have a second first round pick right now sitting at number 10 overall. My thoughts for the Browns would be you still roll another season with the 2 rookies, figure out which one might help you go forward a little bit, and just build your team up here. Because for me, with the Browns, this would be an awesome spot for Caden Proctor. Or not Caden Proctor, sorry, Caleb Downs.
I was thinking the same thing. You've got Ronnie Hickman Jr., who's young, had a couple of solid seasons. Grant Delpit really hasn't done much. And then
he's not whatever you expected of him coming out.
And Greg Newsome has only gotten worse year after year. 2024 was not a very good year. Did have um, decent amount of starting too. Got injured after week 14, so could have been part of it. But I think Caleb Downs adds just like the back end of this defense needs the help. I want to say
Yeah.
the Browns
And you
also
keep them
drafted
home.
some defensive end help at some point in the draft. So
Let's see. Let me get the Browns draft class just pulled up real quick, just because we're checking all these boxes right now. And while I'm doing that, I'm also gonna. All right, so yeah, we got defensive tackle, linebacker. They got the running back from Ohio State there,
they got Marcus Haynes.
Harold Fannin Jr. So like, they did a really good job as far as like offensive guys. Dylan Sampson, like, so we're to me, Caleb Downs.
Yeah,
Like that's the
agreed.
one to where it's just like get the best defensive player out there.
Now the Titans. Before I even like pull up their team, I know that their offensive line has been pretty abysmal, and they've got J.C. Latham. We'll see what he looks like with another year developed. Dan Moore Jr. on the outside. I think getting somebody like their defensive line is pretty solid. Their linebackers could use some help. Their corners aren't all great, but I think that their offensive line absolutely needs somebody. And
Especially on the interior. Like they've got Cushionberry just still kind of hanging around. Not bad, but definitely could be upgraded. Kevin Zeitler is not getting any younger.
yep,
So yeah, interior. Let's see, looking at it, I think corner is a potential need for them as well.
now it's way too early, but Jake Slaughter from Florida is pretty highly rated so far. Um, as far as offensive line, other than that, you're going to have Francis Mauigoa or Spencer Fano.
Oh, honestly, I think we're overthinking this right now. I think it's got to be TJ Parker at edge.
Okay.
The dude's an animal, and they need edge presence. Like looking at the Titans right now, as far as their draft class, get that pulled up. Here we are. Quarterback Cam Ward. They did take edge with Oladejo, Kevin Winston Jr. at safety, Marcus Harris in the 6th round at corner. But outside of that, like, okay, you add Oladejo to this, but you've got Draymond Jones. Like, okay, that can be upgraded. Arden Key, that can be upgraded. Like, he's not bad, but that can be upgraded. So to me, like where it sits right now, I would go TJ Parker.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, the Jets. So now the Jets, to me, if they're in this position, the Justin Fields experiment did not work.
Agreed.
So for me, now this does fall into the line of quarterback. Cabe Kludnick, solid. Drew Aller, solid. Nussmeier, solid. Carson Beck, no. Lenore Sellers is the one I'm throwing my hat in, is going to be the guy that's going to rise up the most because of his just raw ability. If he can get the accuracy stuff down, the mobility he gives you, the arm strength, the playmaking ability, in today's NFL, he's exactly the type of guy that will rise up boards. So now I'm not willing to go ahead and say he's going to be the first quarterback taken, but it would not shock me. So for all intents and purposes here, I would go Klubnik or Nussmeier. Not the biggest fan of Drew Aller. I know he had a really solid end of the season last year, but to me, like I need to see more out of him other than just like a rocket arm.
You
It's
think
kind of
that
like Josh Allen syndrome.
he was surrounded by so much talent?
I mean, that too. Like your running game was amazing. You had a tight end that just went in the top 10 or top 14 of the draft. Like Nussmeier isn't bad,
Yeah,
but
I
I don't
would want to go
like.
Nussmeier.
I will say, I think Klubnik and Nussmeier both leave somewhat to be desired in the arm strength department. but I think Klubnik has just been like solid.
I think you're hating on
Um,
Carson Beck a little bit too. I know that with talking about Drew Aller, Carson Beck falls into the same category, just surrounded by talent in every conceivable way.
hey, it still got him listed at Georgia for whatever reason. Carson Beck is a Miami Hurricane. I'm not
Yeah,
hating on him. I'm just saying, like, if he would have done what he should have done, he would have came out this past season. There's a reason he transferred and wanted to give it another year.
I think that that could be the difference maker for me. I'm gonna agree with you and go Nussmeyer, but honestly, I'd probably go Carson Beck. I'm excited to see what he does this year. But
Yeah, I
we'll
think
give the Jets
Nussmeier has
Nussmeyer.
just been solid the last two seasons, and what you've seen out of him, it wouldn't shock me. Like Klubnik was really solid last year,
But
but just
yeah,
overall body of work, I'm looking at Nussmeier, especially in the games that he came in for Jaden Daniels.
yeah,
Like those games he came in, people were like, "Oh shit, this is the next guy."
yeah.
So I'm
We'll do
I'm cool with
Nussmeyer.
Nussmeier. Let's take him to the Jets.
Um, did Saints end up taking?
They took Tyler Shuck.
Yeah. Do we think that Tyler Shuck is better than the first 4 or 5 quarterbacks in this year's draft?
No, but I also think because the Saints took him in the second round, I don't necessarily know if they would go ahead and just bail on that because that pick was put under such a microscope.
Yeah,
Like you could have had Shador, you could have had Dylan Gabriel, you could have had Quinn Ewers. I think Jalen Milrow was still on the board at that time. Like Tyler Shuck was the third quarterback taken. So I don't know if they go ahead and just say, yeah, that didn't work. Let's go ahead and, bail off of that. Getting the Saints lineup pulled up here and their spot rack. Taysom Hill's coming up, but he's also pushing 36 and he doesn't really have a position. Demario Davis is getting towards the end. Cam Jordan at end is getting towards the end. Rashid Shaheed's coming up on his. Foster Moreau at tight end. Tyrann Mathieu. They've got a lot of guys that are just basically aging out. Trevor Penning at left tackle. They're going to have to figure out him. He's only 27. Dylan Raduns. He's only 28 at guard.
what do you
Will
think
Clapp
of Jermod
at
McCoy
center.
for Tennessee? He's the number one rated corner. They have a couple of young corners,
I
but
like
they
him a lot.
and they took 2 corners in this year's draft, but neither of them were very highly uh, drafted.
He is like Jamad McCoy. Like if he can really like put it all together this season, he is what you're looking for in a man-on-man corner.
Yeah, I think that with Kool Aid McKinstry could be interesting. Like they took Quinton Riley in the 4th round, pick 131, but I think that their secondary is definitely a bit of a weakness. They picked up a couple of edge players, one undrafted, and then one in the 7th round. So that could be another area to go. Carl Granderson's been playing well. Um, but
Yeah,
he was
I
like,
like Jamad McCoy right there.
yeah, I think that's where I want to go. Puts the Panthers on the clock.
The
Panthers,
Panthers had a really good draft class.
especially the first 3 picks, I was really happy with what they were able to do early.
Yeah, so they went ahead and they were able to get the edges figured out. They got wide receiver handled in those first 3 picks, which was just fantastic for them. Good job, guys. Trevor Etienne at running back. Okay, that's fine. Lathan Ransom at safety, and then they filled it out with some other guys at the end. So we're not looking at edge for the Panthers here. As far as what they've got coming up,
Something that could
they've
be
got
interesting is Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas. It seems like their linebacker room is pretty weak outside of John Radigan, and he was
Mm-hmm.
undrafted from 2021, 6'1", 245, definitely kind of like a stud middle. Um, but other than him, their linebackers leave a lot to be desired. I know that it's still a little bit early in the draft, but that's kind of what I want to do with this draft that we're doing now is grabbing players of like value and need instead of like what the
Mm-hmm.
analysis is for ranking these players.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like this guy is he's a monster of a human being. Almost seems more like a pass rusher and coverage linebacker at 6'3", 235. But that could be very big for them. They've got Jadeveon Clowney. They took Princely and Nick Scourton. So having another, pass rusher type coming from the front seven.
Well, yeah, and he mostly does, box work, but he can give you slot and D line snaps as well. So,
Yeah.
like you said, like pointing to the versatility, I like it. Let's do it.
Okay. Leaves the Raiders on the clock.
All right. So, do we think Raiders are looking at maybe a quarterback here?
They have to eventually. Geno Smith was drafted in 2013. Like,
Yeah, I know they signed him to a 3-year deal, but I mean, those are always
yeah, right now
amenable.
they have
And
Cam
that's,
Miller, Aiden O'Connor, and Carter Bradley
yeah.
on for their quarterbacks. So I think even though, so for me, it would be exactly like I said last time. It's really between Cade Bludnick and Carson Beck. Um,
In
now,
between the two of those, I'm going
Club
Klubnik.
is Klubnik more of like a athletic, versatile type of? Um,
He's got some wheels to him. Like he can scoot if he needs to, but he is more the traditional like wants to stand in the pocket.
okay, so similar to the Shador.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that that's what they need. Honestly, they need someone that's going to be willing to tear apart a defense with their arm, especially already having a couple of weapons there. Um, you know, adding adding Genty, they need someone that's going to be willing to give that aspect of the game, make the defenses trust that the quarterback's going to throw it downfield.
Now, they also though might be a team to look at as far as they've got Colton Miller, their left tackle coming up on a final year of his deal. Now they may very well bring him back, but he is on the wrong side of 30 here for you. Jacoby Myers, he's coming up to the end of his deal with the new coaching scheme. Linebackers a potential need for him down the road as well because of Landon Roberts. He's older. Uh, yeah, they've got some offensive line needs there. They've DJ Glaze. They took him last year in the 3rd round. Colton Miller, like I said, they might very well bring him back. So that's where I just wanted to point that out to where offensive line very well may be a look-see for them. But I am with you. If you can go ahead and try to get your quarterback with your new regime, might as well do it because, like you said, Geno is going into like year 12 in the league now.
Yeah, I think we go Cade. I like that for them.
All right. Klubnik it is.
Now, Colts drafted a quarterback this year on top of having Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. So whatever they're doing at their quarterback position, they've got to at least can get a couple of years in it. So we're definitely not going to be looking quarterback.
No, I think let's look at the Colts, bring up their draft class real quick.
I also feel like with Adonai Mitchell, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, their wide receiver room looks pretty good. They got DJ Giddens and Jonathan Taylor. They picked up Tyler Warren, so tight end's not
Yep.
really something
And
they're
they
going to
got
look at.
JT Tuimoloau at edge. They also drafted Latu last year. They still got Quiddy Pay.
They've got a pretty young offensive line as well, in that like a lot of these guys were drafted at 2022 or sooner. They've got a couple of guys like Braden Smith that were from 2018, but and Quentin Nelson. But for the most part, it's a pretty young line. Um, Cornerbacks, they've got a couple of decent ones on the roster, and they did take
Yeah,
Justin
Kenny
Whaley,
Moore, Travarius Ward.
Wally.
Um, they've got Juju Brents, but I mean,
What about
he's
safety? What do you think about taking a safety? They don't have anybody that's very highly
Cameron
drafted.
Byram, Nick Cross. What safeties are on
So you've
here?
got Dylan Thieneman from Purdue.
Yeah, I think this would be a little high for him, and
Okay.
that's everything changing. But so not really looking safety there. I was kind of looking at Avion Terrell, the cornerback from Clemson.
Okay.
I don't feel like they got Justin Wally from Minnesota in the third round this year, but I still don't think that means you shy away from corner again because
Agreed.
Travarius Ward's going into year 8.
Whew. Yeah. And on
Um,
top of that, the rest, I mean, they've got a couple of decent guys, but yeah, I like that. I like going corner here.
all right, Avion Terrell it is then.
Yep. Kind of a versatile player as well. Mostly plays outside, but he can play a little bit of slot, a little bit of box.
Avion Terrell going to Clemson. Yep, I knew it. He's the younger brother of AJ Terrell,
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
Falcons corner.
That's awesome.
I was like, Terrell for Clemson. I was like, can it be? Yeah, so okay. Yeah. We're gonna have him going to Indy. Dallas on the board now. Okay. Get them pulled up. Da, 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 da.
They got Joe Milton, so they're solid at quarterback.
Yeah, they're good for the next 20 years.
Honestly, did they really even look at wide receiver this year? They got Trayshawn Holden undrafted, Josh Kelly undrafted.
Yeah, they
Uh,
didn't draft a wide receiver, which was
yeah,
shocking to me. They
very.
got Tyler Brooker at offensive guard, Ezraku at edge, Siobhan Ravel at corner, Jaden Blue at running back, Shamar James at linebacker. They addressed offensive tackle, 2 defensive tackles, 2 running backs for him total. So for me, I think they've got to be looking at wide receiver.
Now you got Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, 10 touchdown, 14.6 yards reception season. He's a 6'1", 195. I think he's a super senior as well, where like he's had an extra
The
season.
COVID year, yeah.
Um,
I think this is the last draft we get where the college players were affected by COVID.
yes. So the next best receiver they have is Eric Singleton.
I do like Eric Singleton.
They
He's the
also
smaller
have
guy, 5'11", 190, but
yeah.
man, that dude is feisty.
They also got Denzel Boston from Washington. He's got a little bit of a size to him, 6'4", 209. I don't
Evan
know.
Concepcion, keep an eye on him as
Okay.
well as, and I'll always go back to Ohio State wide receivers. So Carnell Tate,
Yes.
6'3", 191 for him.
Ooh, that's interesting. I like that size. Not a lot of touchdowns, but the yards per reception is big. And with all the competition there, of course he doesn't get a bunch of touchdowns. Being super early, I think it's safer just to go Jordan Tyson. He's had a very solid 2024. If he turns around and has a similar 2025, I mean,
Yeah, he
75 for
exploded last year.
yeah.
Exploded. 113 targets, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, like exploded. 6'1", 195. So, yeah, I'm good with it. Let's take Jordan Tyson, give the Cowboys a wide receiver here finally. All
Now
right, so the
earlier
Browns, we took
Caleb
Caleb
Downs.
Downs.
Yep.
Yep. And let's see. All right, so like I said, we're not doing the whole. I don't think they go running back, especially after taking Quinshawn Judkins.
I think they go edge. Miles Garrett is still the only real edge that they have. Isaiah McGuire, pretty solid last year, drafted in 2023, but they don't really have an option for Miles Garrett, and he's about to be going into year 9. Um,
So for them, because I think, like I said, Peter Woods is more of defensive tackle. I'm looking at two Miami guys here. I'm looking at Maui Goa and I'm looking at Ruben Bain Jr.
So let's look at their
Ruben
tackles
Bain
real
is an
quick.
absolute animal coming off the edge for you.
Ooh, I think because Jack Conklin and Cornelius Lucas, but yeah, their tackles are old. They haven't drafted anybody from the tackle
Yeah,
position.
and that's been something too that, people have pointed at is that offensive line's going to need to be addressed soon because they've also been dealing with some injuries.
Yeah,
And looking at the draft class,
I
they
think
didn't draft an
Maligoa.
offensive lineman. So, yeah, I think Mawagoa here.
That puts Seattle on the clock.
Seattle on the clock, another team that we just absolutely loved their draft. I think they hammered it out. Let's pull it up here.
Yeah,
So
Jalen
positions.
Milrow, very interesting. Kind of the opposite type of a player of what Sam Darnold gives you. And to get him as late as you did, like you know that you've
Yeah, they
got some
had so many
developmental.
picks.
Yeah. Um,
They got
they
3 offensive linemen for you. They took 2 wide receivers. Torrey Horton in the 5th round. Highlight him. They did take Elijah Arroyo, Nick Emanuari at safety, Riley Mills at defensive line. So
and Damian Martinez in the seventh, like that's
for me,
crazy.
I think this is another spot to look back at. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull up there. I'm either looking at Peter Woods or going back to the wide receiver well.
I kind of
But
like to go Peter Woods.
I want to see what their D line's looking like.
Jerron Reed and Leonard Williams are both going to be another year older by the time this draft is happening. They've got a couple of
Yeah,
undrafted guys that they took, but nobody that they put any real capital in. And then,
they took Riley Mills in the 5th, so yeah, not like he's just the absolute answer, and that's the only interior D line they did take.
yeah, I like taking
So
Peter
yeah,
Woods
let's
here.
go Peter Woods. He
Great
shouldn't
value.
fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shouldn't fall further than this, anyways. All right, the Patriots, another squad with a really good draft here. Let's see. All right, so for the Patriots, they were able to come away with we all know they got Will Campbell in the 1st round. They came back with Travion Henderson at running back, Kyle Williams at wide receiver, Jared Wilson at center, Craig Woodson at safety, Joshua Farmer at defensive tackle, Braden Swinson at edge. Like, just my guy, my guy, my guy, my guy, my guy.
Honestly,
Like, all down their board.
with Will Campbell being
As
graded as such,
versatile as he is, that's
I
what I
love
was looking
Spencer
at too.
Fano. I love taking
Either
that.
I was looking at either him or knowing how Vrabel is their guy with Harold Landry. I mean, he's not old necessarily, but he is going into year 7
2018
here.
was when he was drafted. That's
Keon White, and they didn't outside of Braden Swinson didn't necessarily address that. So I wouldn't be shocked at them just, hey, let's add a badass like Ruben Bain to our edge here because we have to get after Josh Allen in our division.
yeah. I mean, with the type of career that he's had, too, 9 sacks in 2023, just like gets after it. Yeah, I think we go Bain. I do think that them adding a right tackle would be huge, but they could absolutely add a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round. Right tackle's not as much of like a premier position as edges. I think edge is going to be a bigger priority early on. They don't have a true like terrifies everybody. Clavon Chason has not really been what he was supposed to be whenever he was taken in the 1st round.
Yep, I agree. So, yeah, let's take Ruben Bain here to the Vaders. And all right, the Rams, they're up here at 13 because of the trade with the Falcons. Now, I do think the Rams are going to go quarterback here. I would not be shocked to see them. Where do they pick again? Because they're not picking again until 26.
Yeah, I think
And
this is where you
because
have
I'm
to.
not taking Arch Manning,
I think it's
I've like
Carson
I said,
Beck.
I'm not big on Carson Beck. No, I just between Drew Allar and like I said, I'm big on Lenore Sellers. I like Sam Levitt. I'm between Drew Allar or Lenore Sellers for this pick for the Rams here. Sam Levitt had a really good season last year, and if he does that again this year, he's going to put himself in the discussion. But the playmaking with Lenore Sellers and the big arm that Drew Allar has, and you know, McVay's been working with a big arm as far as Matt Stafford's concerned. To me, like that's how like I said, I'm not big on Carson Beck, and even with him playing for the Hurricanes, I just didn't see it at Georgia last year.
I'd rather Drew Aller if we're being real about it.
All right,
Sam
Drew
Levitt,
Allar.
doesn't have a long like he didn't play much his first year. Drew Aller has at least been consistent for 2 seasons. Has a great crew around him, but I think that he's a bigger. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers adding Will Howard means they're probably not going to be looking quarterback at all.
I don't know if that's what that means because they didn't take Will until the 5th.
6th round, actually. Pick
Yeah,
187.
so yeah, now I am with you as far as just how the Steelers operate. Like, okay, do we really want to take a first round quarterback here if there's not just like a home run guy? But like I said, I like Sam Levitt. I like Lenore Sellers. Nico, I am Levea. I don't think he's coming out either, especially after transferring to UCLA. I don't think he should come out. Um, so if we're going quarterback, like I said, not big on Carson Beck. It would be Sam Levitt or Lenore Sellers right here.
I think tackle in
Other
the first round
positions,
could be interesting. They took a tackle in the first round in 2023 and then again in 2024. Um,
yeah, they got Broderick Jones now. He's left a little bit to be desired, but like you said, first round pick. He's going into year 3. Let him work a little bit. They do Troy Fountain now, so yeah, I don't think tackle's a big one. Wide receiver, probably not. That's just not really how the Steelers operate. Um, Corner is a possibility. Like I like Joey Porter Jr. and they did bring in Darius Slay, but Slay's getting up there as far
yeah,
as his years in the league
he's
goes.
12 years in the league.
They brought in Derek Harmon to replace Cam Hayward for him, so interior D line could be a possibility.
They got I think I see a lot of need at corner. Um, their group is relatively weak.
Yeah,
Um,
so you got Malik Muhammad here, AJ Harris, I like Chandler Rivers from Dukes, and then if we're looking at
Honestly,
corner there,
their guard play is pretty okay as well. I don't know if Jake Slaughter is only capable of playing at 6'4", 308 center, but moving on into the interior.
Fiamalo is going into the year like 10 at left guard for him, and Mason McCormick they took last year in the 4th round, but yeah, that's one to where either him or Zach Frazier could man the other guard spot. So for the Steelers here, what's their edge looking like? Highsmith and Watt. Okay. Patrick Queen, Corey Holcomb. All right. So you can never have too many edge guys. Deontay Lawson at linebacker. Looking at him, 6'2", 240. Or, I mean, it could be quarterback as well.
Yep.
So I'm going to let you make the call on this one.
I want to go Malik Muhammad, honestly.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Dolphins are on the clock.
Miami Dolphins, Arch Manning. No, just playing.
Good one.
We tricked you guys.
Yeah. We
All right,
just
so
want
the
him to save
Dolphins
him.
here. I mean, immediately I go straight to offensive line. I look at Spencer Fano and I see, he's just predominantly right tackle, but he also gave you left tackle work in 2023. We love to see that.
Honestly, I'd
That
rather
allows
Jake Slaughter.
that allows Big Jonah to move inside. Jake Slaughter does give you some. He's straight center, but I mean
Aaron Brewer is
interior O line.
he's undrafted from 2020. He's had a pretty solid, okay type of a career, but whether or not somebody needs to
Yeah.
kick Liam Eichenberg out of that position.
So I mean but with the way the Dolphins drafted this last and what they, I guess, quote unquote, added in the offseason, to me, we're looking at either Spencer Fano, I'll give you Jake Slaughter, or I'm looking at AJ Harris, cornerback out of Penn State, and I'm looking at Dylan Thieneman, from the safety from Purdue.
I feel like Slaughter, because they're not necessarily going to want to move away from Patrick Paul, which is what Spencer Fano is going to come in and push for. Austin Jackson obviously isn't.
I was going to say he might actually push Austin Jackson.
Yeah, I feel like that might be why they got Jonah. Like, he's already being shown as a potential tackle.
Yeah, I think ultimately Jonah is more of a guard, but he can give you tackle work. Whereas to a guy like Spencer Fano allows you to keep Jonah at home, where like at guard, to where he would be the most effective for you, and you just build the best line. But I look at the Dolphins DB core and I'm just like, my God. So like that's where my brain goes as well, to where like it's hard to find good DBs out on the free agent market, but you can normally always find solid offensive linemen. So with the team currently constructed, it's Thieneman or AJ Harris.
Yeah, between the two, I'm going to go Thieneman.
Let's do it. All right, Bears on the clock here. Let's go ahead. Let's try to go rapid fire here on this back half. So we're looking at the Bears. They had a really good draft class here as well. And just off the top, their offensive line is fine.
Love?
Their offense.
Did they add anybody?
They took Manungai in the 7th round.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that they wouldn't draft.
I think Jeremiah Love's a great pick for him here.
Yeah, it helps.
Let's take Jeremiah Love.
Make their offense like a solid thing. He needs to go somewhere. I think that's a team that could look at especially in the second half of the draft.
Yep. All right. So Jeremiah Love to the Bears there for you guys. Shout out. If y'all are still here with us, we really appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe down below for us real quick. Cardinals, I think corner is absolutely something to look at. So AJ Harris. Yes, they took Will Johnson here, but he fell to him in the 2nd. They took Walter Nolan, but I do think D-line is still a possible need for him as well. And actually, no, I think I want to lean more towards the wide receiver.
Yeah, I was going to say they did outside, also get Denzel Burke. I know it's a 5th rounder, but they took 2 corners. I think that they definitely need some help on the outside.
Yeah, let's go Eric Singleton.
Yep.
Because he can work the middle and allow you that speed over the top as well.
And you already have Marvin and Michael Wilson. I know people aren't super high on Michael, but he is a solid outside receiver.
You do like Michael Wilson. All right, so we got the Vikings.
You guys are all sleeping.
Oh, he does give you flashes. He's the guy to where every time I pick him up in fantasy and it's like, oh, okay, let's do it, and he just shits the bed like 3 weeks in a row.
Yep.
All right, so Vikings, they've got Isaiah Rodgers on the outside, Mekhi Blackman. I think corner might still be a possibility for them.
Their tackles are solid. They've got a really good
offense. We know their offense is really solid.
Their offensive line has some holes.
They drafted Donovan Jackson in the 1st round here, and they've got Will Fries, who they just signed this past season.
Yeah.
And also, they've got Ryan Kelly, who they just brought in. Now, he is getting older, so I think this would be a good spot for your guy, Jake Slaughter. I also think linebacker or interior D line.
Well, Deontay Wilson is Lawson, sorry, is absolute just like perfect size and speed. Plays in the box
Yeah, I like
linebacker.
him for a Brian Flores defense as well.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, Lawson it is. Broncos up at 19. Let's see. So they drafted Today Barron in the first round, just absolutely insane. He fell to them. RJ Harvey at running back in the second, wide receiver Pat Bryant in the third. Two edges back to back with Q Robinson out of Bama and Savion Jones out of LSU. And then they drafted a punter and a tight end who is actually a previous basketball player. So
I think this is the one for Jake Slaughter. They only have one center on their whole roster. They've got a bunch of guards, but none of them are even like close to solid. Everyone is kind of like middle of the pack. They do have a couple of tackles on the outside, but other than that, their offensive line is not very highly rated.
okay, yeah, let's go Slaughter. All right, Texans at 20, Spencer Fano. I don't even have to think twice about it. They
Okay.
didn't draft any offensive
Yes,
linemen.
they
They
need it
gave
so
like
bad.
Spencer Fano. Don't even have to think about it.
Yep. Green Bay.
All right, Green Bay on the clock here. They finally took a wide receiver in the first round for all of their fans,
I
which
can't
was,
believe this is the year that they chose to do it. Like that was my only
oh, it
thing
was the year
against
that
it.
they were hosting the draft. If there
Yeah.
was a year you were going to do it, that'd be it. I
Um,
think edge is a real possibility for them here. So
yes, I was looking at that
I'm
just now.
looking at either Keldrick Falk, you've 6'6", 288, just an absolute massive man, and LT Overton, 6'5", 283. Between the two, I lean Overton.
I agree. I like the versatility, but more than anything, that 6'5", while being really, really athletic, um, he's a little bit more of a developmental, and we'll see what he's able to do technique wise this year. But he has the frame of
And
a
he
top
is
tier.
more of Overton is more of like if you're just looking at the snap counts,
Yeah.
he is more of the straight edge guy versus Falk can give you some work on the D line. So that's where for the Packers defense, they do traditionally like going for the bigger edges like Rashawn Gary, who they took a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I do wonder if Keldrick Falk would be the pick here.
Yep. Let's go. Let's go Overton. I like that.
Overton. All right. All right. Bucks on the board. Not a huge fan of their draft class. Looking at their lineups here, I think edge could be a possibility. Interior D line, possibly. I think free safety is a possibility for them.
Outside of Yaya Diaby, they really don't have too much um, on the edge. It leaves a lot to be desired. Marquise Watts is solid, but he was undrafted in 2023, so there's not a lot tying them to them. I think going Keldrick Falk here could be interesting.
Okay, yeah, I was looking down at Tyreek Sapp as well out of Florida.
Ooh,
6'2", 272, more of a, the bigger D lineman edge for him.
yep, a little
Just
bit
gives
more
you,
versatile, kind of plays everywhere.
yeah, yeah, that's what I was looking at as far as because looking at the Bucks that um
Yeah, they don't have a lot
their
of help on
base
the
package
interior
is
either.
more of a 3-4. So that's where I think Tyreek Sapp would fit into that better than the either him or Keldrick Falk because Keldrick Falk is a massive human.
Yeah, I kind of want to go Keldrick Falk here.
Let's
Um,
do it.
he's got more snaps. He's just kind of played a little bit more, a little bit better of a career at Auburn. Um, that leaves us with the Chargers. Chargers had one of my favorite drafts. especially from an offensive standpoint. I think that they definitely are going to look trenches in some fashion um, with this year's draft because they didn't touch it too much in 2025.
Yeah, for them, I think I'm looking at AJ Harris. Like they need corner help desperately, in my
Oh yeah,
opinion.
they do. They've got a
And
bunch of
so,
undrafted guys. They've got four undrafted um, guys from this year's draft and a seventh round pick competing with honestly a bunch of nobodies.
yeah, Dante Jackson's just and Benjamin St. Just like they need somebody. So at that this going into this point next year, I think AJ Harris makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right,
Washington.
Washington.
I want to
They
say
didn't have many
Washington.
picks this year, but I did like the picks that they did have.
I want to say they didn't touch their offensive line too much either, right? They did take Josh Connerly in the first round, but their guards and center, their interior in general, leaves a lot to be desired. Having
Yep.
Armaj Reed Adams right here could be interesting. 6'5", 230, plays right guard, played left guard in 2023, played a little bit of right tackle. Kind of can go wherever you need him to go on the line.
Yeah, let's take our Maj right here. All right, Bengals on the clock at 25 here for us now. I'm looking at Tareen York at linebacker. I'm looking at Tyreek Sapp at edge. Let's see. Let's get their draft pulled up.
They did get Demetrius Knight.
Yeah, they did take Shamar Stewart, Demetrius Knight. They got Dylan Fairchild, Barrett Carter at linebacker, Jalen Rivers. So this last draft, they did touch on a lot of their needs. So looking at their team overall, what possibly might be coming up for them.
Um, what about corner? How are their corners? Because you've got Chandler Rivers still on the
Cam
board.
Taylor Britt, Dax Hill.
They
To
haven't
me,
spent a lot of
both
draft capital.
replaceable.
Yeah, they haven't put a lot of capital. 2022, they took Dax Hill in the first round, end of the first round. Other than that, they've barely put second round draft capital in the position.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I like corner here for him.
so Chandler Rivers is the first one off the board, or first top corner available. Um, also, we could
Yeah,
look
there's a
safety.
good gap between him and Pons right now. So let's go Rivers.
Yep. Rams are back on the clock. We took.
We took Drew Allar for him in the first
Yep.
or with the first pick of theirs here. Let's see. And then now that allows them to come back around. I think for them corner is a possibility, but like I said, there is a decent drop off.
Also,
I like their edges. I like their D line. I think linebacker. So looking at Tareen York, um, wide receiver maybe.
with
So
Denzel
let's.
Boston, 6'4", 209, big body guy. Kind of just gives. It almost reminds you of giving you like a good tight end in like that safety blanket type of a player.
Well, I
Um,
look too with Puka being a bigger body guy, and I look at Devonte Adams, who they got this year, being a bigger body guy. I think that would make a lot of sense as far as how their offense is run. Kevin Concepcion,
I was gonna say I like taking that.
looking at his grades, you're like, okay, like what is this guy giving me here? But like just when he's a guy to where like watch the tape.
Yeah,
Like 5'11",
I mean that
187, the dude is
2023 season.
electric with the ball in his hands.
Yeah. The other one
Um,
to look would be Cornell Tate. Still big body, a little bit smaller. That 14 yards per reception over 2 seasons with all the competition that he's playing with,
mhm.
that's impressive. Didn't see a lot of work in 2023, but got quite a bit in
And that's
2024.
with Ibuka and
Yes.
uh
The
Oh my God,
the
Jeremiah Smith,
yeah, exactly.
like with them popping off too. So for me, looking at the roster, like I said, right now we're just throwing darts at the board. So my pick, just because of what I've seen out of those players, Eileen Concepcion.
Okay, let's do it.
And that's more of me too, like rooting for the guy and hoping he, blossoms this year.
Now, there's no way that Dan Campbell drafts anything outside of the trenches, right? Like that's all that he's been doing his entire career there. Who'd they take in the first round this last year?
Let's see. They took Tyleek Williams in the first round, I'm pretty sure. The defensive lineman out of
Yep,
Ohio
first round,
State.
28 overall. So I think that they follow a similar thing.
Yeah, and they came back with Tate Ratledge at guard, Isaac Tesla. They traded up a good bit of picks for that guy at wide receiver. Miles Frazier at guard out of LSU. They touched on edge. So, like, they got their meat and potatoes out of this last draft. And I mean, the way they've just built this draft up, like, there's not too, to me, they're just in a great position to be able to go best player available.
What do you think about Danny Dennis Sutton or Taurine York from
I
Texas
was looking
A&M?
at York for him here because looking at if I'm picking out a position that could use some work, like Alex Anzalone, he's getting up there in years for him. Like he's still really solid, but
Rodriguez
I
has been
mean,
solid
he's
as well, but that's like it. Jack
Rodriguez,
Campbell.
Jack Campbell, who they just took. So, okay. And this is too, like the Lions are so hard to predict, like what they're going to do in the
Uh-huh.
draft to where it's just like throw a rock and try to hit something. So,
Honestly, I feel like it's edge. Outside of Hutchinson, they really don't have a good, solid edge player. Um, that's why I was saying Sap or Danny Dennis Sutton.
yeah, so between the two, Sap is more of your hand in the dirt edge guy. Dennis Sutton's going to be more of your stand up outside the tackle guy. So I would lean Dennis Sutton between those two just
Agreed.
for what the Lions need.
100% agreed. San Fran's on the board. I feel like they need to go tackle.
I
There's a
think
lot
O
of edges
line,
up here.
just it doesn't matter, just
Yeah.
O line. I think you've got a lot of interior O linemen high up on the board here right now.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at tackle. I'm going down to Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame, Ginnings Dunker out of Iowa. Can never go wrong with those positions from those schools.
Yeah. I think I'd rather Dunker just because of the longevity. Um, Emil Wagner's only really played in 2024. He played 52 total snaps in 2023. So I know that Notre Dame has been really solid with him there, but I think that Ginnings Dunker had a better 2024 and he had a better 2023. Because of that, I think we take him.
Yeah, Ginnings Dunker got more work in his freshman year for sure. So you are getting the experience there. So yeah, let's go with Dunker out of Iowa.
Uh,
All right, Chiefs on the board.
Chiefs interior offensive line, I feel like isn't as big of a strength.
All
They've
right,
got Creed,
so
but their guards are pretty shit. They've got Trey Smith.
Trey Smith's solid. Sua Matia they did take last year, so
Okay.
let's give them a little bit. I think edge might be a possibility for them as well.
Taurine York could be really interesting too. Outside of Leo Chenal.
Let's go ahead and take York here. We've been
Yeah.
mentioning him a little bit. Let's go ahead and take him off the board.
Yeah. All right. Now,
All
are
right,
there any Georgia
Eagles.
players available?
Carson Beck.
Georgia, Alabama players. Bray Hubbard is available for safety. Do they need any safeties?
No, and honestly, like the Eagles are another team to where they can just take best player available at this point with how they've built their roster out. Because I mean, you can't really pinpoint like a damning weakness for them.
Agreed. Honestly,
Interior O line maybe.
big body wide receiver in a Denzel Boston isn't something that they have a lot of. That could
Let's
be a
do it.
potential. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they even need wide receiver to take one in the first round, but they don't have a big 6'4" guy down in the red zone.
All right, and the Ravens.
Ravens touched a defense a lot in this past draft. Um,
Yeah, I think Ravens need to look at wide receiver.
that leaves Elijah Surratt, 6'2", 209, two touchdown games. Plays a little bit in the slot, a little bit out wide. Had 1,200 yards in 2023 with the
Yeah, he
Hoosiers.
balled out in 2023. He was really solid for him again
But
last year.
Carnell Tate's still there. I think they would have to go Tate. Like
If
he's
I'm picking between the two, I'm going with the Ohio State guy.
yeah, exactly. Carnell
Like,
Tate
it's just
it is.
gotten to that point with Brian Hartline just churning them out there. So
Now the Bills
back-to-back wide receivers, and then the
somehow
Bills.
win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, good for them.
That's crazy.
I think Michael Taff here at safety.
Okay.
I think they need the safety help. I don't think
He's
let me
also
just
versatile.
pull it up. I don't believe they address safety. Yeah, they didn't address safety in this draft at all. They got a couple. Well, I guess Jordan Hancock gives you some corner safety ability. They did take Dorian Strong as well. See. Yeah, the Bills went defense heavy in this draft, which okay, that's fine. I think edge is another one just because Joey Bosa's kind of been their.
So do you think
They
someone
had
like
Von Miller, they've got Joey Bosa now, so they're getting those
they've got older edge players though? Do you
older
think
guys.
someone
Yeah,
like Sapp, who's a little bit more versatile, kind of plays all over the defensive line, might be the place
yeah. Let's
for
go with
them to go?
Sapp. He's another guy we've mentioned a few times. So hey, first mock draft for the 2026 football season is in the books. We did it. We're off and rolling. If anything, this just starts to kind of highlight some guys that you need to keep your eye on this season. We appreciate you guys for being here with us. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. TulsiRoseTea.com is the sponsor. Subscribe down below. We're dropping jerseys for you guys. Peace out.